When the COVID pandemic hit, it sort of glaringly opened up the issues for vulnerable seniors in particular. Not just the vulnerable seniors living in personal care homes, but also those that were extremely marginalized, those that were unhoused, living on the street, living in dilapidated housing, and those that were living in shelters. Ironically, though, we know as Indigenous people that these conditions have been there since colonization.
When the English fur traders came to Canada was when they began to interact with our ancestors, with our Cree ancestors, with our Ojibwe ancestors in northern, especially here in Manitoba, in our province. This fur trade, by the way, lasted for 300 years. And many of our backgrounds, we all have that common thread running through our family histories about the relationship we've had with fur traders in this country. These treaties were to put our people on lands throughout this part of the country we live in, lands that they couldn't even do anything with. They put them on swampy lands or lands that had huge rocks where they couldn't do anything with the land. And so that's how our land was taken at that point. A lot of our Métis ancestors had to take what they call scrip. A lot of people don't know what scrip is, and scrip was when the colonial government said to our people, well, you either take $160 in cash or you take 160 acres. My own ancestors didn't have the resources to become farmers. It takes money to start a farm, and they just didn't have that. So many of my ancestors decided to take the cash.
As I speak to people as an Indigenous older adult here in Winnipeg, that I often ask them in sitting and just chatting in conversation is, when they're from different parts of the world, I always ask them, why did you come to Canada? Because we have this extreme heat and we have this extreme cold. And most of the people have given me the answer that they came to the land of opportunity, or to the land of milk and honey. Came looking for employment and better ways of life, and we had to leave our home and come to the city to search for a better life.
It was not until after World War II that a lot of our people started moving into the urban areas, into towns throughout Manitoba.
My childhood was off the land. I had no hydro, no running water. In this land of opportunity, I had no hydro, no running water, where other places did. We lived off the land. We lived off what was available there as far as moose, deer, and all the animals, the hunting, the trapping, the berries, harvesting in the fall, harvesting the berries in the spring. And that's how we survived, and we were always in survival mode. As Indigenous elder adults, we cannot say it's a land of opportunity for us in most cases.
The kinds of conditions that we faced was not only deplorable housing at that time, but the fact that the racism in the city was really bad. And to today, the racism is still here.
Myself, as you know, with my beautiful brown skin, going into stores and being followed throughout the store, and thinking that I'm going to maybe take something and not pay for it.
Many of our people face that discrimination, racism in employment, any kind of training, and so any kind of places to live. That's another area. A lot of our people are homelessness as well. We have a huge housing crisis now, not only here in Manitoba, in our province, but across the country.
Getting a place to rent is impossible. And then the ones that are for rent are dilapidated and often not well kept, at very high priced. And we have such a big shortage of housing in Winnipeg, and especially a shortage of affordable housing.
In our study, many of the people there are talking about their experience in the school system. It was called residential schools, where they children were apprehended and removed from their families. And it was 116 years of this experience. The last school was closed in 1996. So in those 116 years, so many of those children, a lot of them never came back to their communities. Many of those children faced abuse physically, mentally, spiritually, and in our study, many of the people there talk about that experience. Our families too, we have families that went to those schools, and even my own mother went to what they call a day school in her community, in her reserve. So many of that is a common experience that we've all had. The colonial system gave us that legacy, and so now we're paying for it.
What Kathy is speaking about is, the generational facts and trauma, and that came from all of that. And it's still affecting generations below me. I have 3 generations below me because I'm a great-grandmother.
One of the key critical issues as Indigenous seniors that was really important for us to promote was that this project was really truly Indigenous-led. We ensured that we built the trust with our researchers early on. We brought food, we shared meals with them, we got to know them on a personal basis. And that was very important for us because as Indigenous people, we have been researched to death. And very often, this research was done on us without us.
I approached my friend and my elder, Don Robinson, and he came up with it, suggested that the best fitting for that concept was Minosin, Kikiwa, which means it's a good home. You think of the Creator when you use those kind of terms, and it was a collaborative effort because we couldn't say it in Dene. I couldn't say it in Dene, and I couldn't pronounce it in Dene for others to understand it. Imagine trying to say those words on a sign or something like that.
It's not that our glass is empty. We have a full glass. We have ideas, we have solutions. All we need now is to convince the government, the powers to be, housing for us Indigenous seniors is crucial.
Now I've witnessed where the housing is Indigenous-led, Indigenous management, and how it dramatically improved.
What we need for Indigenous seniors is to create spaces where there's the utmost kindness and love for them. And that's what we need to create, not just for Indigenous seniors, but for all seniors. The type of housing for Indigenous seniors should look at perhaps intergenerational housing models where there's a mix of families and seniors, where there's common facilities and areas where the community can come in, offer ceremonies, run community events. So the seniors are not sort of pushed away in isolation, but they're part of their families, they're part of their neighborhoods, they're part of their kins. They want to be within their communities where families can visit and where services are delivered in culturally relevant ways. For Indigenous seniors, not only do we lack safe, affordable housing, but we also lack those transitional spaces that can, once you can't live on your own independently and you need supports and services, you can perhaps have an opportunity to have home care services delivered in culturally relevant ways.
I and my daughter are going to be moving into the same apartment block so that they can assist me and I can assist them. My granddaughter will be there too, so there will be 3 generations. But we have to make that choice, and I just happen to have that opportunity to do that.
As an advocate in the committee here and in the city of Winnipeg for the longest time, I guess the last 40 years, as a young woman advocating for families and women and all kinds of issues, housing issues, employment issues, education issues. Here I am now a senior, I'm 76 years old, and I'm still advocating for our people and our seniors. It's something that needs to be done, and I will probably do it to the end of my life.